and the stream is going and the meeting is being recorded.
I'm sorry, Mr. Harris. I wasn't sure I heard you.
And let me repeat, the meeting is live and it's being recorded.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Do we have our legal counsel present? Ms. Love, I do not see Ms. Love. Okay, let me check on her, okay?
Okay, thank you.
And 5 for a few more minutes, please.
Thank you. I'm just gonna stop my video for a couple minutes so I can grab a bite to eat. My lunch was just delivered, so I don't think you want to see Brussels sprouts hanging out of my mouth. So excuse me.
I have done the same thing.
COVID-19 cases continue to rise.
Mr. President, will you please pick up
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Red?
on your cell phone, please?
Oh, I don't have a call coming in. Okay, let me.
And you need to mute.
Okay, Doc.
excuse me, Mr. Winstead and Mr. Richardson. I will be calling you both.
Okay. Okay. Can everyone hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll call to order the Virginia State University Board of Visitors Committee on Institutional Advancement, virtual meeting of November 19th, 2020. I will give the caveat that the legal counsel has not been able to join the meeting yet. So anything requiring a vote, we will table it until her arrival. Dr. Red, would you please do our roll call?
Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Xavier Richardson,
Present.
Dr. Valerie Brown,
Present.
Ms. Thursa Crittenden.
She was here. Thurston.
I see her. She's here.
Okay.
Pamela Curry.
She was here too.
Okay. Dr.
I'm
Christine
here.
Darden.
Here.
I'm here.
Dr. Christine Darden.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Siobhan Gordon.
He's here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr.
sorry.
Mr. Glenn Sessoms?
I am here.
Okay. Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum of board members. We would like to recognize Ms. Beverly Everson Jones, Chair of BSU Foundation, who's also a member of the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you for
And
joining us.
Mr. Ron Winstead, our Rector, ex officio.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. We're going to call on Ms. Sharmika Epps Harris to give us in the invocation of the meeting.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Please bow with me. Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessings, guidance, and favor as we gather together today in the name of Virginia State University. Thank you for keeping us and protecting us from things seen and unseen, and we pray for and lift up the lives of those who've been impacted by COVID-19. We pray for guidance and wisdom in the matters at hand and ask that you would give us a clear mind, a joyous heart, and an enthusiastic spirit for the work we will accomplish during this meeting. Your word says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future." Guide us through the plans that you have for Virginia State as we commit to the work of transforming lives, taking us to higher levels of excellence, productivity, and impact. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. We'll ask that if you're not speaking, if you please place your speakers on mute, as some of the sounds are very sensitive. Some of your mics are very sensitive and will pick up the least, the quietest noise. Okay, thank you. Okay, we will do the approval of the agenda and approval of the previous meeting minutes again at the end or later on. This time we'll call on Dr. Abdullah for our president's remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let you know that I'm in the final stages of the hiring for the new Vice President for External Relations. The title is slightly different as we have included government relations and communications under advancement. But that position is in the final stages. And by our next meeting, I hope to have someone here so that we can welcome them to Virginia State University. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. That's great news. We look forward to it. And hopefully the person that you've chosen will choose us too. Okay. Now for our reports and recommendations from the sponsored programs, Dr. Faison.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hopefully everyone can hear me. I'm having a little bit of problem with at least the video, but I did want to go ahead and go through. Are my slides up?
Who's responsible for that? Is that Hubie? Dr. Red, who has responsibility for the slides or access to the slides? Okay. Here, Dr. Red's sharing them now.
Hey, Dr. Faith, can you see your screen?
We can see it. Dr. Faison?
Looks like we've lost him. Doc?
Okay.
Uh,
We'll give him another minute or two. If we can always go to the next item on the agenda and come back. I can't see who's currently in attendance right now. Is his name still up?
Maybe, sir, we should come back to.
Well, he's on. He's still showing present. Okay. Okay, then we'll move on. Mr. Burton, are you ready? Mr. Burton, Eldon?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Give me just a moment. All right, so if there was one word to describe this year's General Assembly session, it would be a word that all of us have found ourselves using over and over again this year. And that word, of course, is unprecedented. If you look at the chart before you, it outlines what the 2020 budget process was anticipated to look like in full, starting in August of 2019. Many people believe that we just show up for the General Assembly session in January and then do all the work, but the work actually begins months in advance of the session. In a previous presentation that I did for the board, I showed you all pictures from an on-campus tour from August 2019 that we provided for members of the governor's cabinet so that they could see firsthand the reasoning behind the request that we were going to submit to follow the following month to be inserted into the governor's biennial budget. I believe this approach was highly effective. And I could recall, for example, the Secretary of Finance taking one step into our current admissions building. And the first thing that he said was, "I get it."
Okay, I'll hang up.
All right, thanks.
Excuse me, we have some background conversations going on. Please mute your phones.
This moves us along to December, where the governor introduced his budget before the joint money committees and highlighted significant investment into Virginia's two public HBCUs, Norfolk State and Virginia State. Majority of our budget requests were then added to the governor's proposed budget, which is sent to the General Assembly in the form of a budget bill. Thus begins the budget deliberation process that you see at the bottom, where by the end of the session in March, the General Assembly approves a budget through a conference committee and sends it over to the governor to be signed, vetoed, or returned to the General Assembly with amendments. If you go to the next slide, please. We ended the 2020 General Assembly session with the largest legislative package that Virginia State University has ever received. I'm gonna let it soak in. We ended the 2020 General Assembly session with the largest legislative package that Virginia State University has ever received. It was $166 million and indeed a historic budget for the university. We received funding for data center modernization, establishing VCAN, which is our financial aid program for Pell eligible students in the surrounding area, the expansion of the intrusive advisory early warning system that Dr. Palm was speaking about earlier, the expansion of supplemental instructional programs, the Summer Bridge program. There was money for financial aid optimization and money to also implement a UTeach program for developing STEM educators. On Agency 234 side, there was also additional funding added for a state match. Next slide, please. The majority of our funding were for capital projects, which with the exception of detailed planning for Summerseat were fully funded. As you can see, we have improving and replacing the technology infrastructure, demolition of Harris Hall and Daniels Gymnasium, improving campus safety and infrastructure, the construction of the new admissions building, waterproofing campus building, and like I said, detailed planning for renovating Summerseat. I just want to highlight there is an additional in your additional information, there are pictures of these projects so that you can take a look at them a little later on. Next slide. But April comes and COVID-19 began to take its place amongst Virginia and the rest of the nation. And the governor was forced to make a tough decision to unlock all of the new spending, including all of our new funding for fiscal year 21 and 22. He in turn called the General Assembly to reconvene in order for the state to reforecast its the challenges faced as a result of the pandemic, as well as to address policing and criminal justice reform following the civil unrest as the result of the death of George Floyd, Breonna. Special session. The governor reintroduced the budget recommendations to the joint money committees, and within doing so, he restored one-time funding for fiscal year 21 for only 2 of Virginia's higher ed institutions. And those 2 institutions were Virginia State University and Norfolk State University. This included $6.5 million total for Agency 212 and $1.5 million for Agency 234. Is our agriculture and cooperative extension and research. If you go to the next slide. All right, so also at the end of the special session, the General Assembly approved a budget restoring our fiscal year 21 dollars, as well as included 1.7 million for VSU from an appropriation designated to support public universities in maintaining affordable access, as well as $9.3 million that will be awarded to VSU as part of an allocation from the Federal CARES Act dollars through the Corona Relief Fund. This isn't included on the slide, but they're also, and this is thanks to participation from the board in writing a letter to the governor, there was also $738,000 we also received from the governor's Emergency Education Relief Fund, the GEAR Fund. Albeit a successful session for VSU, and the governor announced that he signed his bill into law yesterday. There's still work that needs to be completed. Funding. We were pleased to see already for the upcoming session. It's taking place as we speak. VSU also submitted budget requests to the governor's office. If you go to the next slide, we also submitted our budget request to the governor's office for restoration of the funds that were unallotted for fiscal year 22, as well as submitted for a new request for a program called SPAR, Student Persistence and Academic Recovery Program. The new requests that come in now have to meet one of the 4 criteria, and majority of our requests that we submit fit within identified emergency needs, including response to COVID-19 pandemic. You can go to the next slide. So this is just request that we have. As I stated, it's the same request to have the money that was unallotted for fiscal year 22, to have it restored into there, and then also to add our student assistant and academic recovery program. We have also submitted capital to improve HVAC infectious aerosol control campus-wide. Virginia Hall, to the Memorial Library, and our #1 priority is to construct the Building Outstanding Leaders of Tomorrow Leadership Building, which is our building. As I stated, see the things that were passed in the recent budget, projects, you can see the pictures. I do want to give kudos to Kevin and his team, Jane Harris and Adrian, making sure that we respond to the planning budget, made requests for fiscal impact statements, and that stuff is, it doesn't go noticed and it goes appreciated, and it makes it easier. Also want to give credit to the president, who does a wonderful job speaking on behalf of the institution, and he also makes my job easier. So that concludes my report.
Okay, do we have any questions? Quite an impressive report, a lot of impressive results this year. Congratulations to you and your team and to the rest of the VSU family that you've acknowledged, including Kevin and his staff, as well as our president, who I know is really working the crowds, the aisles, and everything else to make sure that the VSU story is well told and the needs are quite well articulated. So congratulations to you again, all of your staff, and those who work with you, rather.
And
Okay.
I don't know if these slides, these are just the slides that I was telling you about with the various projects.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Oh, okay. So
Were you going to introduce?
I'll do it. One other thing that I like to do during my presentations is make sure that we highlight who was able to come visit us on camera. And this year we had Delegate Aird as well as Senator Mann.
You're coming in and out.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Can hear you now.
Yeah, so we have
Okay.
Wes Bell was the former vice mayor of the city of Charlottesville, here on the line, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the Institute.
Welcome, Mr. Bellamy.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
We're fine, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge our wonderful president, President Abdullah, who's played a phenomenal role in terms of helping us bring the John Mercer Langston Institute to fruition, as well as our provost, Dr. Palm. Dr. Palm has been a huge supporter from day one. And Mr. Burton. Mr. Burton and I have worked diligently on this, and it's been a beautiful thing to see it come to fruition in addition to the rest of staff. Mr. Burton, are there slides prepared? Just maybe, okay. So we sent in some slides. They
Sharmika, do you have?
Okay.
Do you know if those slides were submitted?
No, I don't think they made.
Okay. No, that's okay. That's okay. So I'll just go over in detail a little bit about the John Mercer Langston Institute and what we were able to pull together. Now, as you all are aware, John Mercer Langston, who was our first president, an absolute monarch and just trailblazer in terms of African-American politics, but really the political atmosphere across the country. We wanted to name it specifically after him for a few reasons. And I know, again, we know about John Mercer Langston's background, but if you all would indulge me for about 2 minutes, I want to speak to some of the other parts in regards to why this is so significant and the importance of us naming this institute after him. Just in part, the John Mercer Langston Institute for African American Political Leadership is a development program suited for collegiate scholars as well as current and emerging African American Virginians who are interested in becoming more active in public service. Community leaders, local elected officials, state officials, nonprofit leaders, and any African American interested in expanding political power for African Americans in Virginia are also invited to participate. Now, our institute is comprised of annual cohorts, and the JMLI is based on the campus of the historically Black College University, Virginia State University. So our first president is the epitome of Black excellence and arguably one of the greatest Americans to ever grace the soil of our land. John Mercer Langston exemplifies everything that we want our institute to be. He was one of the first Black elected officials in the country, serving as the township clerk in Wilhelm, Ohio in 1855, and was the first Black man to represent Virginia in the U.S. House of Representatives. In 1867, President Langston served as Inspector General for the Freedmen's Bureau, touring the post-war South and encouraging freedmen to seek educational opportunities. In 1868, he established the law department at Howard University, a new college founded to educate African Americans. And in the early 1870s, Senator Charles Sumner of Massachusetts sought Langston's aid in drafting his Civil Rights Bill. In 1871, Langston received an appointment from President Ulysses S. Grant to the District of Columbia's Board of Health. And in 1877, President Rutherford B. Hayes appointed Langston resident minister to Haiti. So when we think about his political acumen, that's one portion of it. But President Langston also uses educational and political prowess to fight for equitable policy. He petitioned the high courts to ensure that Black people were treated equitably and mobilize and organize Black people across the country in the quest for ensuring that Blacks were not just at the table, but had the ability to select what they wanted to eat from the menu. A powerful man, to say the least. So as we look around the Commonwealth of Virginia, we know that there is a need for developing a new pipeline of African-American political leaders. And members who are currently in the General Assembly right now, there are a very small percentage in the totality, in the grand scheme of things, who are identified as African Americans. That's both in the House as well as the Senate side. When you look at from a local elected perspective, there's less than 10% of the total local elected positions, including city council, board of commissioners, sheriffs, and so forth, who are actually African American. So for that reason, we know it is imperative that we develop a pipeline on the elected side. But from a policy perspective, and we actually just heard from Senator Spruill this week when he was having conversations with J-Lark in regards to the need for more African Americans serving in public policy positions to help write and guide policy. Those are the things that we're looking to address. So our institute will comprise of several different events, and we're looking to be on par with the Sorensen Institute, the Minority Political Leadership Institute that you see at Virginia Commonwealth University, VCU, and Sorensen, obviously, at UVA. We have a dynamic board, members of the General Assembly and so forth. We have Senator Mamie Locke, who is on our advisory board. We have Delegate LaSharice Ayer. We have Larry Terry, who was actually the CEO of the Sorensen Institute and the Weldon Cooper Center at UVA. Our illustrious professor and fellow at VSU right now, Dr. Lanil Henderson, and again, a wide variety, Angela Rye, who is CNN political commentator, and a wide variety of folks who are here to help our scholars move forward. We're focused on ensuring that, again, we develop a pipeline, we research and develop public policy, we look at power and capital, and we tell the full story, not only African Americans in the political world, but also encourage our students and those who are also looking to get into this field, just how to do so and be advantageous to our community when they do it. We were able to kick off our institute last month on October 14th, and we hit the ground running, to say the least. We were able to put forth and put together our Black Virginia Voters 2020 poll, and we saw with that a great deal of responses. We had nearly 500 people from across the Commonwealth provide responses. We are following that up with the exit poll for the 2020 presidential election, and it will also include information about the 2020 gubernatorial election and things that African Americans across the Commonwealth are looking to see in next year's electoral process. So I hope that you all will continue to support us, and thank you for your time today. I'm open to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you for that presentation. Thank you for the great work that you've done along with your team. Are there any questions of Mr. Bellamy? Okay, I think this is a great initiative that we're undertaking and certainly quite timely, and we know it's destined for success. So we'll come back to this a little later to talk about voting on the name, the formal name, because we need to present that to the board tomorrow as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Faison, Dr. Vason is ready. Are you with us now?
Can you hear me this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So again, thanks for being patient. What I am doing is our sponsored programs activity again through the first quarter of 2021, and so that is for the months of July, August, and September. So the first thing that I will present are the proposals process. These are grant proposals that have been submitted for funding. As you can see here, in this first quarter, we submitted 28 grant proposals worth approximately $26.83 million. This does look like a significant increase over prior years. I do want to caution us on the interpretation of this number, though. What is in this number is there's a particular grant proposal mechanism called the Capacity Building Grants that comes out from USDA. Each year we are allowed to submit up to 12 proposals to this mechanism. This normally comes out in the spring. However, due to COVID, this was displaced to September submissions. And so we submitted, I believe, 10 proposals to that. If we back those 10 proposals out, then we're back down at 18, which is about where we normally are for this period in the year. So we are on par, but I'm not ready to jump up and down and scream great things about some of the advancement just yet. Can we move to the next slide, please? So the next one is the number of grants in the portfolio, and we are holding constant in that mid-80s number. So we are at 83 at the end of the first quarter of 2021. To the next slide, please. Our next slide is sponsor programs expenditures, and this is a measure to me of activity that's going on against the grants. So these are the salaries that are paid from the grants. These are supplies and materials that are purchased from the grants. And so at the end of the first quarter, we were at 6.04 million. This does trail the last couple of years. I believe that to a large extent, this is COVID related in that, especially during the beginning and middle of the summer, we did have a slowdown in grant activity due to social distancing and not necessarily having folks in the labs. And so while the funding agencies did allow us to continue to pay salaries, they did recognize that some of the other activity was not going to be there at this point. And so I think that's reflected in this number. Next slide, please. And so my final slide is indirect costs recovered. This number is actually tied to the expenditures number. So just as that number is trailing the last couple of years, this indirect costs recovered number is also trailing. I do believe that this number is actually going to, and actually the numbers that we see for October, which are not represented on the slide, but stuff that I'm looking at on a month-by-month basis, they are indicating that we are recovering our expenditures and the attendant indirect costs. So while I don't think that we're going to get back to the $24-25 million number in expenditures that we've had in the last couple of years, I do think that we're going to be in that $22 million range. However, because of the new formula that we have on indirect cost recovery, actually the numbers indicating that because of the recovery in spending, we are on pace to at least meet the same number, the same indirect cost recovery number that we had last year. I'm happy to entertain any questions that you guys may have right now. All right, hearing no questions, thank you guys for your attention.
Well, thank you for the report and the great work that you're doing there. Look forward to hearing your next one with even better progress. And thanks for being transparent in terms of those numbers on the first slide. I was ready to give you great accolades on the increase.
I'll try to take them when I earn them.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Dr. Dandridge, the communications update.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. In the Department of University Relations and Communications, of course, our goal is to continue to increase positive media interactions as well as increasing our social media presence. And we are very happy about the fact that since we last met, we have continued to do that, which lines up with our strategic plan priority 4, which is the VSU brand, defining the VSU brand and telling our story, thus effectively demonstrating and communicating the value of Virginia State University. So one of the big things that we did since we last met, if we move to the next slide, was just what Dr. Bellamy was just talking about, which is the John Mercer Langston Institute. We held a press conference on campus, and you can see some of the pictures from that press conference. As he mentioned, we had some state legislators there. You can see Delegate LaSharice Aird, as well as State Senator Mamie Locke was present as well. But in the middle picture is one of the things that we were very excited about was how much of the media showed up to help us tell this story. All of the local television stations were there, ABC, NBC, and CBS, as well as all of the local newspapers were there as well. And so we were able to get some very positive media interactions as a result of this announcement and press conference that we held on campus on October 13th. If you move to the next slide, is just a quick look at some of the articles and some of the things that we found online of the different media outlets that did cover the John Mercer Langston Institute announcement. And we got additional bang for the buck on this one because after we made the announcement, once the poll was released, we got additional media coverage on the poll that you just heard Dr. Bellamy talk about. So in addition to this big announcement, we did have some additional stories that made headlines. If we move on to the next slide, amongst those was the announcement just this week that President Moore, there is a more updated slide that President Moore announced this week that, or we sent out the release this week that he would be donating $500,000 to the university, some of it posthumously. And so that ended up getting quite a bit of media attention over the past few days. In addition, the Grow with Google announcement that we put out, as well as our reopening plan, the virtual homecoming, our civil rights and education signage that was upgraded on campus, the media picked up on that, and Boots to Roots and the Small Farm Outreach Program, as well as an announcement about offering free workshop for area farmers. All of that was out of the Department of Agriculture, and we were able to get quite a bit of media interactions as a result of that. In addition to that, we continue to leverage the expertise of our faculty members and our administration. If we move to the next slide, just some of the additional announcements that we were able to get out there and showing some of the expertise of our faculty. Dr. Palm, Mr. Rodney Hall, again, Dr. Wes Bellamy, all appearing in articles or on television stations, talking about some of the interesting and great things that we have going on at Virginia State University. Again, if we move on to the next slide, we continue, as someone very aptly said, allowing or encouraging Dr. Abdullah to continue to work the crowd. And so he has made a number of appearances in the media, some of those on HBCU Digest, Black Lifestyle Magazine, as well as News One. You can see the flyer there to the right of the screen, where he was served as a panelist on News One, talking about HBCUs and how they fit into the Black vote during the election season. So again, we continue to push him out there. He knows the VSU story. He knows the HBCU story. He's very good at telling it. And so we continue to leverage his expertise at doing that. Now, in addition to that, one of the things that as I used to teach my public relations class, I used to tell my students that advertising is what you pay for, but public relations is what you pray for, meaning that we can't always control what the media does with the stories that we send. We can't control whether they actually run those stories or if they don't. And so we continue to push out press releases and information to the media in hopes that they will carry them, but we also want to take control of getting our own message out, and we do that through social media. So if we move to our next slide, our social media strategist, who is Ms. Taja Harris, has done a phenomenal job in terms of operating our social media and continuing to get Virginia State University out there, because this is another way that we can help to control our own narrative and put our information out there. So this is just a very quick glimpse at some of our social media interactions and how we are able to leverage that. For example, if you look on Facebook, we post an average of 13 posts on Facebook a week. That's at least 2 a day that we're putting out there. And on Twitter, posting about 41 weekly posts. And you can see how many followers that we have on all of those platforms. And another thing that we're really excited about as it relates to our social media is that not only do we post it, but then we see how many people will share it. So it extends our reach and extends our arm far beyond what we post on our Virginia State University social media pages, because we have a lot of other people who continue to push and share that information as well. So those are just a couple of the ways that we continue to try to share the VSU story and continue to try to push all of the good and wonderful and transformative things that are happening on the VSU campus. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Well, thank you, Dr. Dandridge, for that report and for sharing all the great things that are happening on campus. I have a question. Do we have a system by which we send out news clips to any of our audiences or alums or any audience in particular? I have another universities with which I've been affiliated, they would do like a weekly recap of VSU in the news or something like that.
We do have a page on our website called VSU in the News, and we continue to try to keep that updated. So with additional news mentions that we will try to keep it updated, all of the different places. But to be honest, if we look at the situation of the John Mercer Langston Institute, because there were so many different media outlets that carried that one story, we can pick and choose which one we choose to share, but that page would really get long if we shared every time that we're mentioned in the news. So and that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But we will continue to be more diligent about ensuring that we share the services that you can subscribe to that will let you know anytime your business is mentioned in the news. We don't subscribe to one of those services right now, but I think along with the president, as well as along with some other members of our administration, have alerts on our Google so that we know anytime Virginia State University is mentioned anywhere in the news. We kind of keep tabs on that.
Yeah, it's something to consider, because the ones that I've had, I haven't even had to solicit. I don't have to go to the website. It comes as an email. On a regular basis, and it keeps me informed. And I think that this would do a lot in terms of keeping our alums and donors and prospective donors informed, that hopefully could result in not only some positive public relations, but also some positive income. It's just something to think about.
Yes, sir. We will absolutely look into that.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to say I get those types of newsletters as well, and even if it's just a link to the page, just a reminder at least of all the good work that's going on is helpful to me, I know.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Now we will go on to the institutional advancement update. Ms. Shamika Harris.
Yes. Good afternoon again, everyone.
Good afternoon to you. And thank you for all that you've done to prepare for this meeting, prepare us for this meeting. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Institutional advancement has been extremely busy as we continue, of course, to solicit and secure philanthropic support and partnerships for the benefit of our students. Actually, we'll address the photo on the very first slide, which was a photo that we took with our guest on campus, Mr. Charlie Luck, as well as Dr. Epperson from Luck Companies, a family-owned business and one of the largest in the stone industry, located in Goochland. And so we had an opportunity with the president to visit them earlier this year. And so we had invited them to come to campus and give them a VSU experience. And so we had that opportunity just a few weeks ago, giving them a tour of campus, talking about leadership and how our students are developing with Bolt and with the curriculum of surrounding leadership. They also had the opportunity to meet Ms. Geneva Norfleet, who was photoed with me. She is a 2020 graduate, but also in our graduate school currently, and is a graduate assistant within our office, phenomenal student. And she most certainly provided her experiences and her leadership skills that she gained while here at the institution. And so it was a wonderful opportunity to host them, but also begin to talk about how Luck can build and help us build leadership skills within our students and partner with career opportunities. So we will hope to have an update soon about what that will bring about. If we go to our next slide, we will jump right into our dashboard update for fiscal year 21. I think the data is as of November the 8th. So with our charitable giving, we have a total of $991,360 compared to last fiscal year of $855,943. And so this is an increase over last fiscal year in our charitable giving. If we look at our non-charitable giving at $71,820 compared to last fiscal year of $144,564, you'll see there's a decline. A lot of this will be attributed to homecoming. And so where we did not have a traditional homecoming in person with our Jazz on the Hill events and many of our events, the golf tournament, we did not have revenue to come into the institution. So that non-charitable portion has seen a decline this fiscal year. With a total dollars of $1,063,181 this fiscal year raised as of November the 8th compared to last fiscal year of $1 million. We look at our total donors at this time, November 8th, 1,173 donors compared to last fiscal year of 1,060 donors. And so we are excited again to continue to increase our support within our fundraising efforts and also increase our donors. And so you can see that increase is broken down as we look into the categories below, looking at the alumni line of $439,000 from alumni compared to fiscal year 20 of $408,000, with the donor count, of course, as we see, higher than it was in fiscal year 2020. And so we'll talk a little bit about it, but our Rogers Stadium sellout helped this as donors were excited to be able to participate in that homecoming experience. In our Alumni Association line, $21,345 compared to last fiscal year of $11,400, with 12 Alumni Association donors and compared to last year's 6. And this really includes our Alumni Association chapters. And so when a chapter makes a gift as an organization, that would be shown in this category. Our faculty and staff, much appreciated for their support and their continued support at $60,693 compared to last fiscal year at $57,277, with a donor count of 63 compared to last fiscal year of 77. In our corporations, foundations, and organizations, a total of $403,692 compared to last fiscal year of $330,992, with 39 donors this fiscal year compared to last fiscal year of 71. So again, we continue to focus on these numbers. Again, this is a dashboard that we see every week as we slice and dice and segment and see where our opportunities are to increase in all of our constituency groups, especially as we approach the end of the calendar year. And so we're focusing a lot of our efforts now until December 30th on bringing in the calendar year-end gifts to the institution. Next slide. So the next slide, I wanted to give just an overview of how, again, slicing and dicing, how the dashboard reflects in the funds for the institution. And so by category, showing where the funds come into Virginia State. So with our endowed funds, currently there have been no fiscal activity in this. And when I say endowed funds, this would be an endowed investment, of course, investment fund that is not restricted to that is not restricted to scholarships. At the line below, you will see our endowed scholarships, and so that is where a lot of our support comes from, with donors and chapters and organizations establishing endowed funds at the university. And so that is where much of the support has shown up in our endowed activity. With our deferred giving, this is, of course, where our donors are having estate plans and policies with the institution. And so they make a gift to the institution that would provide the support for a planned gift, but also for a policy for a life insurance policy. With our restricted current use funds, a lot of our donors find this as an opportunity to give immediate need to students by way of scholarships, but also provide support to the colleges as well as the programs. And so our restricted current use funds, they are our current use funds that we can use right at this moment. However, they are restricted either by way of college or by scholarship. And then one of our most important funds is, of course, the Tuition Assistance Fund, which provides the critical and immediate support for our students. We see that this fiscal year, we have raised $132,000. If we look at the years 2020 and 2019, they have increased over the last 2 years. And so we are looking and continuing to push to see that number increase as we move into the 2021 end of the fiscal year. And so just wanted to, again, give you an overview of how the funds come into the institution and where we also focus some of our efforts in our fundraising.
Can you explain on the deferred giving, you say it's the insurance. What are these numbers representing?
Right. So,
in terms of,
so the donor makes a gift to the institution, which then pays the policy for that donor. And so that is the gift to the institution by way of the donor, which pays the policy.
So this 1420 will go back out to pay for
the policy.
Right. Okay. Thank
Correct.
you.
And next slide, please. So our funding partnerships, wanted to just give an overview about that. I know we talked about, went in line by line almost in our last meeting, talking about our partnerships and our funding opportunities. So wanted to give you an overview of where we were since our last meeting with Atlantic Union Bank, which was a recent announcement that we shared about a partnership and a funding opportunity at the university. Atlantic Union has committed to $100,000 to support scholarships at the institution, but also to build a pipeline and internship program. And so we're excited about that. The focus will be in our Reginald F. Lewis College of Business. And so that partnership is well underway. I believe the president also participated in an interview with the president of Atlantic Union Bank on yesterday. And so we look forward to establishing the scholarship and the benefit of our students and the experience they'll also benefit from with this partnership at Atlantic Union Bank. Dominion Energy, of course, we spoke about that last board meeting, which spoke to the HBCU Promise Initiative that Dominion Energy had announced. And so we were invited to participate in that proposal along with myself and Dr. Hiley and Dr. Lee. We were able to present on the College of Engineering and Science and Technology and opportunity for funding. And we want to thank, of course, visitor Bill Murray for his support and being in that presentation with us as well. But we are happy to announce that we have confirmed the gift from Dominion Energy of $2.7 million, which will support our College of Engineering and Technology. Much of the focus will be on scholarships, as well as being able to provide for our summer bridge program and professional development experiences for our students. And so we are extremely excited about that and that gift that will come to the institution and benefit the students for that program at college. Idea Alliance is also a partner with the institution. They recently contributed to the College of Humanities and Social Sciences to be able to award a scholarship for 2 years for students in the arts program, mainly in graphic design. And they are also doing a partnership where they are mentoring students and providing them experiential learning opportunities. And so one of the partnerships we were able to secure as well, I mentioned Luck Companies earlier when we first started the presentation. Smithfields, by way of our visitor member, Mr. Fleming, being able to build that partnership with Smithfield and make that even stronger than it is currently. But we're looking at a large gift from Smithfield in the range of $500,000 to support endowed scholarship, but also, again, a pipeline partnership for our students, as well as internships for our students. And so hopefully we will have more information on that when our next board meeting in February. And the Truist Foundation, which is a merger of SunTrust and Bank of America, who has provided gifts to the institution of $10,000 to support the tuition assistance fund. And so just a little bit of activity that has gone on with our office, but also great news for our students who will benefit from this and these partnerships and funding. Our next slide. So a brief overview of our progress within our second quarter. I talked a lot about our partnerships and our funding. So some of the progress that we've done in the other areas, mainly alumni relations, but also our grant proposals. We held our virtual alumni homecoming weekend. And so if you were able to participate and see all of the activity that surrounded that, we had the virtual paint and sip, we had the 5K, as well as the Rogers Stadium sellout, and as well as the halftime day party show. And so a lot of excitement about that initiative and that weekend. It was almost as if the alumni had an opportunity to be together in a virtual space, and we're on the yard together in a virtual space. And so I think it provided most certainly an engagement opportunity, even in the midst of COVID-19. Our class reunion giving program is well underway. And so we are right now working with our class coordinators with the classes ending in 1s and 6s. And so they are reaching out to their classmates. They have already sent their appeals and their solicitations to their classmates, encouraging them to make a gift to the institution in recognition of their graduation year, but also in recognition of their anniversary year. Our renewal and our end of the year solicitations, those have, of course, gone out, and they have garnered a lot of support. Our gift processor is taking a break for the moment, but her fingers are most certainly typing away, trying to enter all of the gifts that we will receive based on this mailing. And so we hope that those will also provide the support that our students need, and the donors will see the need and the urgency of that support by way of this solicitation letter. And then our October proposals, again, trying to keep our focus on doing 2 proposals a month. And so in October, we were able to submit proposals to the Richard S. Reynolds Foundation, as well as the Wawa Foundation. And then in November, this month, we are looking to submit our proposals to M&T Bank, as well as Norfolk Southern. And next slide, please. So just wanted to highlight some of our alumni who have been in the news, but also were elected to political positions within their states. And so, of course, starting with Lucy McBath, who's the class of 1982, who was reelected to Georgia's 6th congressional district. She also served as a commencement speaker, if you remember, just a few years ago. Jamila Taylor, who's the class of 1998, who was elected to the Washington State House of Representatives. And Jason Lowe, who is also a class of 1998, who was reelected to the Oklahoma State House of Representatives. And so just some highlights of our alumni who are, again, making impact and making change in their communities, but across the nation. Next slide, please. So just a brief homecoming overview, just sharing some of the highlights and the photos that were captured over the weekend. Of course, again, we started off the events with our virtual paint and sip, and so you'll see a Zoom photo of the photos of the images and the paintings that were done during that Friday evening event. On Saturday, we hosted our 5K, and so our alumni and friends, faculty and staff were able to participate wherever they were. It was their race, their pace, and so they provided their photos and, of course, demonstrating their orange and blue and Trojan pride wherever they were, but again, being healthy and active and participating and engaging. On our next slide. We also, of course, had the Rogers Stadium's virtual sellout and halftime show. And so this was our fundraising component of the homecoming weekend, asking alumni, friends, supporters to make a gift to the institution to help us sell out the stadium. And so we were able to sell 1,906 seats in the stadium, a virtual seat, but also most importantly, to raise $47,000 in funds to our tuition assistance fund. A part of the sellout was also the daytime halftime show, and day party. And so we were able to, again, provide an engagement opportunity via the internet and live stream our halftime show and day party with 2 alums of Virginia State University, where we had 1,851 views on that Saturday of the halftime show. So again, providing an opportunity for engagement in a virtual space, but also feeling the spirit of Trojan pride across the nation. And I think this is my last slide, please. And the last slide, we talk a little bit, just an overview of our Giving Tuesday initiatives. We are planning to participate in Giving Tuesday on December the 1st. It is a global day of giving, and so it is a day where many nonprofits are reaching out to donors and friends and supporters to support philanthropically their organization. And so we are participating in that as we have in the past, and asking for gifts of any size to any fund to support the institution. And so you will see a lot of the communications come out over the next few weeks as we build up and lead to our Giving Tuesday again on December the 1st, 2020. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Lots of great things going on there. And again, thank you for holding things together there.
Thank you.
Great job there. We really appreciate it. And any questions? I have one quick one. The gift that's being made in honor of Eddie Moore with Universal Corp, should that be on the report at some place? I'm just so that we can give them proper recognition.
Yes, it will be. We actually have a donor list that we do every month, and so they are actually on our donor list, but it was not in this presentation.
Yeah, to the extent it's another partnership with another corporation, that we might be good if it fits into your way of reporting.
Absolutely.
Anything else? We've heard a lot of excitement about homecoming, and thank you for doing that. And we had talked about maybe even continuing that for those who cannot make it out to homecoming from across the world during homecoming, even when we have the next physically present homecoming. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, do we have our legal counsel present? I can't see who's here now on the participant list. Dr. Red?
Yes, sir. I believe we do. I think I see Deb Love. I think he is here.
Okay.
Yeah, I am listening.
Okay. Okay. We just need you to be. Okay. Thank you for being here. So then we can take care of a couple of things that we need to vote on. A few things we need to vote on. Glad you can make it. Okay. The first thing is that we need to do a roll call on approval of the agenda. Dr. Red, are you ready?
Dr. Red?
Dr. Red, you're on mute. Thank you.
Again, it took a few minutes. Thank you for your patience. So I am calling roll for approval of the minutes, well, the agenda and the minutes. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. Xavier Richardson,
Aye.
Dr. Valerie Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Crittenden,
Yes.
Ms. Curry,
Yes.
Dr. Darden,
Yes.
Ms. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Sessoms.
Yes.
Okay. So that was for the agenda.
Okay.
For the, I believe, and for the minutes, Mr. Richardson,
Yes.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Crittenden,
Yes.
Ms. Curry,
Yes.
Dr. Darden,
Yes, Dr. Darden.
Ms. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Sessoms.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And the last thing that I have to bring before you is a recommendation for affirmation of the naming of the African American Political Leadership Institute honoring John Mercer Langston. As you heard from Dr. Bellamy, he has quite an impressive background and certainly worthy of the recognition that we want to provide by attaching his name to the African American Political Leadership Institute. So therefore, I'm requesting that this committee recommends affirmation of a recent naming by the university to the full board. Background, the university created and named the African American Political Leadership Institute after John Mercer Langston, the first African American congressman from Virginia and the first president of Virginia State University. This institute has been created to assess, develop, and empower African American political leadership in the Commonwealth of Virginia, which embodies the spirit, mission, and transformative nature of President Langston. He used his educational and political prowess to fight for equitable policy, petition to high courts to ensure Black people were treated equitably, and mobilize and organize Black people in the quest to ensure equality. That is the recommendation. I guess I need someone to make that motion in a second.
Sam
Yeah.
Curry, so moved.
Thursa Crittenden seconded.
Okay. I think this can just take a aye, or do we need a formal roll call?
I think we should do a roll call to be safe.
Okay, it doesn't hurt. Okay, you ready to roll?
Yes, sir.
Call. Okay.
Mr.
Good.
Xavier Richardson,
Yes.
Dr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Crittenden,
Yes.
Ms. Curry,
Yes.
Dr. Darden,
Yes.
Ms. Gordon,
Yes.
Mr. Sessoms.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That vote was unanimous, and this will be taken to the full board tomorrow. Is there any other business to come before this committee at this time? If not, we can adjourn. Or do I need to have a vote on adjourning too?
Move to adjourn.
There a second.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson.
Thank